I'm sorry, you're okay.
I didn't even hear you. What did you say?
I said, do you have a tardy slip?
Oh.
I'm totally messing with you. I'm sorry. Welcome. You gonna have to edit all this crazy stuff I'm doing. Okay. So this African American life. Welcome. Seriously. Hi. 1. I hope I live as long as the nails of a sister sitting beside me on this crowded subway. 2. I've decided I'll propose to the next person who calls me main man. 3. If a middle-aged black man enters a subway car and no one stares as if my people were new to the planet, hell yeah, my soul makes a sound. 4. My late friend Joanne appeared in a dream. She told me Jesus fainted when I went back to church. Let's see. I'll do a couple more. These are poems from Fingering the Keys, the book that came out in 91. Good grief. What can I do? All right. This piece is called After the Dance. It's a title of a song by, I don't know if you know who Marvin Gaye was. He's a singer. His birthday was April 2nd, born in DC. And After the Dance. Are you an ethnic poet, she asked, eyes glued to my zipper. What do you mean, I countered. I mean, do you fry your imagery in fatback whose silhouette is illuminated by an inner city street lamp under which several young brothers, most of whom will soon die or go to prison, harmonize until dusk when they are called in by overweight heads of households who can cook like crazy and are heavily involved in the Baptist church? Sometimes. Wrong answer, she said sadly, then walked away. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about my mom. This piece addresses my father. Now, my mother, if you invited them to dinner, you know, my mom talked a lot, and my father was the opposite. So if you're familiar with the saxophonist John Coltrane or his music, you hear those solos, and the solos are like, you know, arpeggios, and they run into chords like this. Well, you know, he did some recording to work with Miles Davis in the late 50s. So it wasn't always this way, but Coltrane was like, like this, and Miles Davis would give you like, beep, 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 space, beep, and it'd be it. So my father was more like Miles Davis. He'd give you like 3 words every 6 months. Like he'd say, like, Marianne, nice sweater. So that's April, you know, and he'd smile at you. And then August, it might be, what is your name, sir?
Michael.
Michael. Kind of warm for that vest. He'd say that in August. That'd be it. Like 3 or 4 words, and you think, huh. But he was like, my mom was the teacher, kind of a cerebral, you know, daydreamer. My father was the brass tacks. Like, he would say, I told my mom, oh, I want to go to college and study literature and be a writer. And my father said, this is a long sentence from my father, like, you're not coming back home to live when you graduate with an English degree. So, my mother worked on him, and he relented, you know. But anyway, once I was in my 20s, I changed the antifreeze in my car, and I thought, this is something my father would be like really proud of, because, you know, I come home and say, Dad, I wrote a sonnet. He was like, oh no, okay. This is changing antifreeze. I know it is only a simple counterclockwise turn of the drain valve, but for this moment at least, I am not a librarian at the mercy of mechanics. I am my father. I am every calloused-fingered master of automotive technology who ever donned a shirt with red stitched lettering above the pocket. Call me Joe. When a neighbor passes, I nod and affect the pose of a man for whom this rudimentary task is but the beginning. There's a space shuttle in Florida just begging for my touch. I don't know if you've ever seen, you know, I hate to even use the football team's name. The New England Patriots coach, Bill Belichick. You know, he's real kind of stoic, like, that's my father. You know, like a big heart, but he didn't say much. I know, like, we don't have a lot of time in terms of the poetry, recitation stuff, so I'm gonna throw it open again, see if you have any comments or questions about, you know, like, where I ate dinner last night, whatever you want to do. Yes?
Okay, Reuben, I was wondering, what do you feel is the difference between your first book and, I guess, the second
The
book,
newer
where it's
stuff?
augmented?
It's a good question. I was thinking about that on the train coming out here. I think the newer work, I hope, because sometimes what you think and what is can be, like you try to shake hands and the hands don't catch. I think I'm less cryptic, you know, I think they're more forthright. And I mean, technically, there's so many poems in the first book that are in first person. And I just thought, which in a way kind of contradicts what I just said, but I think, I just feel they're more emotionally honest, and I think they're stronger. I have a tendency, and I'm still working on this, it's like if you want to say something to someone in a poem or even just in conversation, I would tell a joke, or I would try to sort of sublimate the emotional content of it, you know. And I remember, like, growing up, friends would say to me, "But you got a crush on so-and-so, don't you? I saw you looking at her in algebra class." And I said, "Yeah, she's all right." Well, you know, at home, I'm probably writing like 98 poems about this person. It's a little easier for me to say, you know, to use that example, I'm in love with this person or that person, than it was when Fingering the Keys came out. I mean, the other thing is, I don't know if other guys in the room can deal with this, but my peers and I tried to figure out how to handle the world. And if you ever seen this film Moonlighting, you know, you have like a lot of crap going on, and I was taught, you know, I had like the family education, but people in my neighborhood, guys in my neighborhood would tell you how to handle yourself, you know, both with violence, but also just, because like guys would say to me, they call me bookworm. They say, "Bookworm, you can't walk around the street looking all happy all the time. Somebody will kick your butt." And they were helpful. I mean, they cared about me, but it, you know, it can mess you up. And I got too good at, yeah, it's okay. So I think the difference, to, you know, get back to your question is, I think the pieces are a little more okay with being themselves, and you know, they don't kind of go around the block to say what they want to say. Now I'm gonna cry. No, okay. Any other? Yes. Okay.
You're
Next.
Was it me?
Go ahead.
You go ahead, and then, I'm sorry, forgive me for pointing.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
okay. It's my turn to go
You
first?
go ahead.
Yep. What is your name?
My name's Joanna.
Joanna. I should know that. Okay.
I know.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I have
Okay.
a question about the persona poems that you write
Mm-hmm.
by Kelly, and the barber in Detroit who I'm
Amir.
not sure, Amir.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is he, who I'm never sure is real or not, but
Yeah.
could you talk about those?
Sure. There are some Amir poems in the book. What I started doing when I was teaching at the Writers Center, I had a student who was working on some persona poems, and I realized I'd never really done it. And I think you can get too comfortable with things you do well or relatively well, and I think it's okay. I think it's important to constantly push yourself. Like if you're not good at form, it's good to go ahead and, it's okay if you stumble over them. So I started working on these composites. One is a barber in Detroit, late 70s. African-American barber. His name is Amir Yassin. And I started just coming up with things, again, based on various experiences. And, you know, I just thought, what the heck? I started putting these little vignettes on Facebook. And the thing was that Amir didn't have like a computer, so he would call me on the phone and say, you know, I thought about this at the barbershop, so write it down. So I'd say, well, Amir told me this is what happened Tuesday at the Hang Time Barbershop in Detroit. Well, what happened in terms of like, you never know who's reading your stuff or who's gonna be impacted by something you read at an open mic or publish or something. There was an arts editor at this newspaper, 7 Days in Vermont, which is like Washington City papers, a weekly, and he was curious about them. This Amir, he fell in love with this woman, Khadijah Rollins, who's like a CEO, and he wanted to write about them, but, and I said, this is gonna be interesting. I said, well, you know, Amir doesn't want to do the interview, but you can ask me questions. Because it's, you know, the questions like yours, is he real? Is somebody coming from Detroit to do this interview? Are you gonna call somebody in? But I would say with Amir, who died last year, he was close to 80, and there's another Kelly Donaldson, a guy who's kind of working through. They're outlets for, I'd say they're vehicles for, like Amir, I'd say was like the middle age, the autumnal heart and love, you know, like he met Khadijah and he fell in love with, okay, like I'll read this quickly. This is one of the sections, it's like Amir and Khadijah. Khadijah traveled a lot. She still does. I mean, she's a CEO. She got to go to conferences, work with clients and that kind of thing. And, you know, Amir he's like the master barber at the barber shop. So, you know, she was home a lot, but he would miss her when she was not there. And this piece, I think, kind of sums up. This is kind of Amir and his essence. So Khadijah's she's in Las Vegas at this conference, and Amir writes his piece, Dearest Khadijah, the other night as I was driving home, I reached my free hand across the passenger seat. I imagined you holding it before the light changed. Then I returned both hands to the wheel. I found a parking space 2 blocks from my apartment beneath a large maple. Lord, I love this city, and turned to kiss you anyway. So Amir is like, he's like that, you know, he fell in love with this woman, and the guys at the barbershop would give him crap and say, man, you know, what's wrong with you? You seem happier than you usually do. But he, not unlike yours truly, had kind of a gruff side. So, you know, there's one piece where the guys are saying, yeah, you know, we heard you in the alley between clients, like singing Luther Vandross love songs and stuff. And so what Amir would do if you give him trouble, he'd go to the strap where you sharpen a straight razor. And he'd just walk over to it and go, and you'd hear that sound like that. Well, it's a dude with a straight razor, so you're not gonna tease him. But that's Amir. Now, Kelly is more to the point, a little bit salty, but you know, he loves what he loves and he's not afraid to say it. Like, one of his favorite things is he likes like cold chicken lo mein like late at night, and he watches movies over and over again. But so they did, to answer your question, I mean, they serve, I just like seeing where these things go. And sometimes I kind of plot it out. A lot of times I just kind of see what happens, you know. But I encourage people to, again, it's okay to not know where something is going, and it's, you know, it's okay to have people, you know, encounter unpleasantries. But it's like writing a piece of music. You get like 8 bars in, and you think, where is this going? Well, if it doesn't work as a waltz, make it something else. But I'm sorry, yeah, you.
Okay, you work a lot with memories, obviously.
Right.
How do you deal with it? How do you work them through your drafts? In the sense, are you faithful to them in the first one, or do the memories on paper kind of take on their own life and go in different directions?
Ooh, yeah. It's a bit of both. I think I've gotten better at being less stubborn about first drafts. Because, maybe other people in the room had this experience where you write something down and you think, this is really how it happened, and I'm sticking to it, I see the first draft as a guide. A lot of times, what I think is, maybe initially I think, oh, like this is a good first stanza, but it's really just it's a suggestion. And you look at it the next day or maybe 2 days after that, and what I even see is, this is, like if you lived in Cleveland and I'm coming to your house, maybe what I wrote is, 6 miles this way, take exit 4. Well, that's a start. It's like, a path. But what's on the path? And as people say in workshops sometimes, it's like when you break something down or unpack it to see what else is there. I think another big change for me is thinking about possibilities, what works best. Maybe the first draft is free verse, and I should have brought some villanelles and stuff I've been working on. Maybe this form works better. Maybe that form works better. And I don't see that as problems. I see it as like you're going out for dinner and you go to your closet and you just start going through the rack. Like you hear the hangers going. Well, blue suit, nah. Gabardine, nah. Or you try it on and you think, no. Try it again. And I guess my point with that is, just play with the possibilities. But you're right, going back to the other part of it, sometimes a poem will say, we're going to Gaithersburg. And you say, well, I don't want to go to Gaithersburg. But I think it's okay to go to Gaithersburg and see what's going to happen. I used to think revision, you take workshops and they talk about revision, and I think this is the worst thing since, I don't know, but now, I think it's a good problem to have, or a good challenge. I don't want to say it's a problem. But maybe, and when you look at whatever comes to be close to the finished product, it can be surprising, but the initial idea is there, but you may end up, the poem may end up in a different part of the restaurant than you intended. I use a lot of metaphors. I have chronic metaphoritis. Yes.
So is it possible to put like a percentage or a number, like how much of your poetry is fiction?
Okay, it's been a good time. No, fiction.
I mean, factual.
No, I know what you're saying, yeah, and I get this question a lot. I'm gonna say percentages. No, that's all right, so a lot of it, I have to use the term composite again, and I'm not ducking the percentage thing, but certain things are, like, one line may have come from a particular experience, the next two may be from something else. The vignettes addressing my friends and stuff are as accurate as one person's recollection of something in the world can be, which means, living like my late brother, who's older, I remember he read this book and he said, yeah, I remember this particular thing, and it might even be a small detail, like you said it was an Aretha Franklin song, but it was really something else. And of course I'd say, no, you're wrong. But for me, so much of the need and the intent kind of trying to hold hands with the imagination is it's something I